Hello everyone students, my name is Dr. Rituraj Trivedi. I am an assistant professor, Department of English in Pandit Sundarlal Sarma Open University, Chhattisgarh, Bilaspur. We will discuss in this video Class BA first year English second paper, Literature in English on the topic William Wordsworth 1770 to 1850 as a romantic and a nature poet. William Wordsworth is called a pioneer poet of the Romantic age. So this period has generally called from the name of Romantic age. Hello everyone students. Introduction. William Wordsworth remains a standing example miracle of romantic poetry. He is the prominent of the romantic poets. He was the pioneer of romantic movement. William Wordsworth was born on April 7, 1770 in Cockermouth, England. Unlike other major English poets, he enjoyed a happy childhood under the loving care of his mother. He was very close to his sister Dorothy. He was fascinated by the epic poet John Milton 1608 to 1674. He meets with his friend Coleridge at 1795. In the French Revolution, he first publishes his two political efforts, namely An Evening Walk and Descriptive Sketches. In 1795, Wordsworth and Coleridge developed their friendship in 1798. They both composed the lyrical ballads that raised a wall between the new classical and romantic poems. 23 poems in this volume, 19 by Wordsworth and 4 by St. Coleridge. Then Wordsworth and Coleridge went to the Germany. Here Wordsworth began the prelude in 1802 with the suggestion of some friends. He published preface to lyrical ballads in which he represents his theory of poetry and poetic diction. In 1843 he became England's poet laureate. He revolted against the artificial poetry which was written for the upper class. He regarded nature is the best teacher. Though Wordsworth is the founder of romantic movements, but he died on April 23, 1850. His literary contribution consists of lyrical ballads 1798, poems in two volumes, first and volume second. The prelude that is a sort of his autobiography and was published after his death in 1850. Hello everyone students. William Wordsworth as a nature poet. Wordsworth was a great poet of nature. Nature became a guiding force behind his poetry. He regarded nature as the best teacher. All the object of nature gives us true education. William Wordsworth writes many poems with the naturalistic views. Among them, the poem I Wandered Lonely as Cloud Daffodils is a beautiful nature poem. It deals with the beauty of the daffodils and the feelings of poet's mind. I Wandered Lonely as Cloud is a famous poem by Wordsworth. Like the prelude, the poem begins with the description with the loneliness of the poet. He walks lovely as a cloud floating high over vales and hills. What his loneliness overcomes when he comes across the beautiful daffodils, he finds a strong sense of joy. He seems that the movement of golden daffodils in the gentle air of rhythmic. Thus, he makes his mind overwhelmed with the beauty of the daffodils. In the second stanza, he describes the poet's imagination while figuring the sight, color, and movement of the daffodils. The poet sees 10,000 flowers at a glance. They are dancing in a lively manner. Thus, he gives his imaginary vision through this stanza. In his last stanza, he describes his tranquil movement that he recollects the sense when the poet spends his restful time. The beautiful sights of the daffodils flash upon on his mental eyes. The joy of the recollection, if filled with the same pleasure he experienced when he sees the daffodils. So, while analyzing the whole poem, we find the poem is written in iambic pentameter. Every four stanzas are arranged in the effect of nature on the poet's mind. The poet used many simple words and phrases. He also uses meaning similes. So, these features makes I Wander Lonely as a Cloud one of the best poem of nature. Poet Wordsworth. Love for nature is the most dominant features of romantic literature. On the other hand, love for nature also refers to return to nature. It means the world of vegetation and human qualities of human beings. William Wordsworth establishes a close kinship with nature in the solitary vapor. We find his close relationship with nature. He draws this poem about a girl who is singing and reaping lonely in the hilly area. Here, the girl, the hill and cornfields make a bridge between nature and human beings. As a poet of nature, Wordsworth stands supreme. He is a worshipper of nature, nature's devotee or high priest. His love of nature was probably truer and tenderer than of any other English poet. Wordsworth had philosophical and original view of nature. Their points in his creed of nature are noted. Its inequality and limitations. He is deficient in the purely lyrical gift. William Wordsworth, as a poet of nature, nature is a living personality. Nature has healing power. Nature is a great moral teacher. Hello everyone students. William Wordsworth as a romantic poet. Wordsworth was a great romantic poet. Wordsworth stands supreme and he can be termed a romantic poet on a number of reasons. The romantic movement of the early 19th century was a revolt against the classical tradition of the 18th century. What it was marked by certain positive trends. Wordsworth was, of course, a pioneer of the romantic movement of the 19th century. With the publication of lyrical ballads, the new trends become more or less established. Of all the poets who have written of nature, there is none that compares with him in the truthfulness of his representation. No other poet ever found such abundant beauty in the common world. He views nature with this belief that all nature is the reflection of the living God. He called for return to nature. He imagined that nature is the best teacher and divine glory was present in all objects of nature. He defined poetry as a spontaneous flow of powerful feelings and expressions of emotion recollected in loneliness. He took interest in simplicity of language and style. He took themes from the life of common people. Hello, everyone, students. Wordsworth's poetic style. Wordsworth had a belief that poetic style should be a simple and sincere as the language of everyday life. He advocated the use of simple language in poetry. He said that poetry should be written in a language really used by men in humble and rustic. On one could quote numerous examples of the successful and effective in which manner in which Wordsworth handled simple language. All Lucy poems offer striking example. A poem like the one of Daffodils represents the successful simple style too. Wordsworth's use of the merely plain style has something unique and unnatural. Wordsworth was to use a selection of the language really used by men in humble and rustic life, while at the same time he was to throw a certain coloring of imagination over his subjects. Wordsworth often used imagery which a more visual, especially is similes from nature. We can aptly sum up Wordsworth style thus: Wordsworth language is usually worthy of his theme. Hello everyone, students. Wordsworth as a social reformer. Wordsworth was a great social reformer poet. His poems were devoted to social reform. In his poetry, he asked all to come back in nature. Wordsworth believes divine glory is hidden in nature. He wishes to solve two human problems and give important suggestion for that. In this way, he becomes a teacher to the whole human world. It makes his tone satiric towards imperfection of human society. Hello everyone, students. Wordsworth as a satirist poet. Wordsworth was a great satiric poet. He passed satire on artificial poetry of new classical age. He passed satire on growing worldliness. Wordsworth says true joy is given by nature for which we have no time. We are lost in a blind race for material gains. He reflects his love of nature by figuring the picture of daffodils that gives his stronger sense of joy. So William Wordsworth has perfectly got the crown as the pioneer of the poet of nature. Hello everyone, students. Conclusion. William Wordsworth, 1717-1850, is one of the greatest romantic poets as well as a poet of nature. He is one of the most important English poets and a founder of romantic movement of English literature, a style of writing that focus on emotion and imagination. He is high priest of nature and worshipper of nature. He had complete philosophy of nature. He believed that there is a divine spirit pervading all the objects of nature. He was often called a nature poet because of his emphasis on the connection between humans and nature's world. Wordsworth became widely successful and was named Poet Laureate of England in 1843. So that's all about William Wordsworth 1770 to 1850 as a romantic and a nature poet. I hope you find this video of William Wordsworth as a romantic and a nature poet helpful. Thank you so much for watching this video.